today we're going to put the spotlight on a very exciting company that listed with us, I would say, probably 2.5 months ago, if my memory is correct, and that is Awakn Life Sciences. I'm very pleased to have with us today, beaming in from Dublin in Ireland, Anthony Tennyson, the CEO of Awakn Life Sciences. Welcome, Anthony.
Joss, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be beaming in from Ireland.
I can imagine. And technology is doing extremely well today. It's amazing everything that we can do in such an efficient way. The objective today is to walk with you through a number of topics, Anthony, and of course the audience can step in, ask questions, and they will be brought in the conversation or potentially lead to some additional discussion items. But let's start with first things first. A lot of people are looking or will be looking at this spotlight that don't necessarily know your organization that well, Anthony. And my first question to you is, can you give us a bit of an overview of Awakn Life Sciences, what you do, where your focus is, and where you are so far on your journey?
I'm absolutely more than happy to. So Awakn Life Sciences, we're a biotechnology company with clinical operations who are developing the next generation of psychedelic therapeutics. So that's medicines and therapies together to better treat addiction. So substance and behavioral addictions. So substance addictions like alcohol, tobacco, or prescription or illicit drugs, and behavioral addictions like gambling, binge eating disorder, etc. We're listed on the NEO exchange. We listed in late June. It was an absolutely brilliant process. We're also listed on the OTCQB under the ticker AWKNF and AWKN in the NEO, and we're also listed on the Frankfurt. We've got a center of operations in the UK, but also significant operations in Canada. So where we are in our journey, so what we do, Joss, is we do two things. It's really simple. We develop and we deliver. So on the development side, we're developing therapies, proprietary therapies, and proprietary drugs to better treat addiction. And on the delivery side, we will be opening up 20 clinics across the UK and EU through the course of this year through to the end of 2024. And in those clinics, we will be delivering our treatments to better treat addiction. That really sets us apart from an awful lot of other biotechnology companies, because not only are we doing a huge amount of research to develop an impressive and highly commercializable IP portfolio, but we will also have a revenue engine generating revenue starting this fiscal year. We're due to open the first 3 of our clinics in the coming months, or the coming weeks, I should say, and then we'll have another 2 clinics open this financial year. So 3 in total this financial year. And we've got a second revenue stream, because although we'll have clinics in the UK, EU generating revenue for us, we will also be accessing the North American market through licensing partnerships by packaging up our proprietary medicines and our proprietary therapies and making them available to the 125,000 addiction treatment practitioners in the US who treat addiction, and also to the ketamine clinic operators who are opening up across North America. The reason, Joss, that we're so focused on addiction is it is one of the biggest unmet medical needs of our times. Between 15 and 20% of the global adult population are affected by substance addiction. That's tobacco, alcohol, or illicit or prescription drugs. Treatment rates are low, and success rates for those treatments are equally low. You take alcohol use disorder, 5% of the global adult population affected by alcohol use disorder, only 16% of those who have it seek treatment, and the success rates are about 30% in the first, or so the failure rates, I should say, are about 70% in the first 12 months. It's equally the same in other types of substance addiction, and also in behavioral addictions. So we are motivated every single day to do better. And we believe we can do better. And we're doing that for the individuals, the families, and their communities who are so negatively affected by addiction. And we're coming at it from a radically, radically different way that no other company has chosen to or been able to treat addiction or tackle addiction before. Many companies try to develop drugs that target a single receptor site at the brain level, brain mechanics level. What we're actually doing is we are disrupting, we understand the brain circuits that house the impulsive, the addictive behaviors, the behaviors that drive addiction. We understand those. We are working to disrupt those behaviors, enabling people to break free from those addictive, learned, repetitive, addictive behaviors. And then we are also developing the therapies that will enable people to learn lasting and permanent ways to address those underlying addictive behaviors. And that is a very, very unique approach to addiction. And it's that approach to addiction that gives us the ability to say that we can treat substance addictions like alcohol, tobacco, and illicit drugs, and behavioral addictions like gambling, pornography, or binge eating disorder. We've built one of the best teams in the world with experience in this space. We've got Professor David Nutt as our Chief Research Officer. David has published over 400 papers and written 20 books on addiction. He's a global authority on alcohol, opioid, and behavioral addictions. And we've got other people on the team. And we're actively running in preclinical drug discovery and also clinical stage research. We're about to publish the results from a phase 2B study that we've acquired the IP and the license to from the University of Exeter. And that was a trial for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy for alcohol use disorder. And that will be published in the coming weeks. It will be groundbreaking when it is published. We've also just initiated and begun enrollment for the world's first study, not a trial, a study to assess ketamine as a treatment or as an intervention for gambling addiction. We believe we are the first company in the world to be assessing psychedelics as an intervention or as a treatment for gambling addiction or for any type of behavioral addiction. And the third piece we're doing is we're about to initiate, or we're about to secure ethical approval and regulatory approval for the world's only phase 2B trial for MDMA to treat alcohol use disorder. Our team, before they joined us, ran a phase 2A trial, and the results of that were published in February. And the results of that, the efficacy from that, were very, very impressive. Instead of having a 70% relapse rate, and those that went through MDMA-assisted psychotherapy designed the way our team designed it, was a 20% relapse rate. So radically improving results, and that's how we're bringing that forward. So we're working with ketamine and MDMA to develop the therapies, and we're also running a full drug discovery program in addition to clinics that will provide near-term revenue for us as a biotechnology company.
So, Anthony, I think it was a very good overview and very, very tangible and very concrete about what you do, where your focus is, and I think you covered some of your key differentiators versus other biotech companies that are, let's call it, leveraging psychedelics types of compounds, probably the best way to put it. Question that I had for you: when you look at the market that you're looking to address, clearly from a societal perspective, what you're doing is amazing. Like we all, will agree that there's an issue and there's a fundamental need to address it. So, you're ticking the box in an incredible way over there. But do you have a view on what the size of that market is? What is the market that you are looking at, that you are contemplating? Like, I think that's always an interesting question for investors to understand. What is the potential, and what do you think could be your share of that market?
So I can talk a little bit about the potential market. I don't want to jinx myself and talk about our potential share, but so despite those low penetration rates for treatments for substance addiction, and despite the low success rates for those treatments for substance addiction. The current the substance addiction treatment market is worth $17.5 billion per annum, US dollars per annum, forecast to increase to $31.5 billion by the end of 2027.
Is that globally?
That's globally. 70% of that revenue or that market is in our core territories of the UK, EU, and North America. So UK, EU, where we will be targeting the market, our route to market will be through clinics, and North America, where our route to market will be through licensing partnerships. We actually view and believe the true market potential, Joss, could be significantly higher. If companies were able to develop and deliver more effective treatments, we believe the market penetration for those treatments would be higher. And if a company like ours is able to treat both substance and behavioral addictions, we think that our share of that market could be reasonably well sized in the medium term. So what we're doing to execute on that is we're coming at treating addiction in a radically different way that is highly driven by defendable IP in drugs and therapies. We're working with ketamine and MDMA in the near term to develop the therapies. And we are also developing our own drugs. We're working with a company called Evotech. It's the world's largest drug discovery company. We're running a full hit to lead program with them. We've already press released these timelines, but we will be, the first stage of that hit to lead program will be completed in early Q4. And we will be sharing updates with the market as and when they're available. But not only are we doing, and we will then bring those therapies and those drugs together in due course into a single therapeutics package. But not only are we, as I mentioned before, that biotech company, but we've actually got 3 revenue streams that are differently phased, but all scalable. We've got our first one, which is our clinics revenue stream, and that starts this fiscal year. So we're a biotechnology company that will have a number of revenue generating assets on our balance sheet this fiscal year. Next fiscal year, we will package up our IP and we will make it available into the North American market through a licensing partnerships business model, giving a second revenue stream starting next fiscal year. And then in due course, we will commercialize our therapeutics in a traditional pharmaceutical model, giving us a significant future revenue potential.
Yeah. So I think the potential is big. You're positioning yourself in a very unique way, and you come with a number of different streams of revenue, which is always quite critical. When you look at where you are today, so you gave a view on when revenues will start. What the different types of revenues that you have based on your latest view, and I only want you, of course, to mention anything that is public, but so don't come with any information that is not public and material. But how do you see the financials of the organization developing in the next couple of years?
And so that's a really good question. And again, I have to be cognizant here of publicly traded markets.
Absolutely.
I think more from a revenue or from a business model perspective, what sets us apart is the revenue engine that the clinics provide. And we know, the clinics they'll generate, a couple of million top line per clinic. We're going to have 20 of those. And there's a fairly healthy margin that those clinics can generate. So the great thing is they'll generate free cash flow at the business unit level. And that will enable us to reinvest on an annual basis in our research activities, which will enable us to continue to develop a very, very robust and highly commercializable IP pipeline, biotech IP pipeline. It also, really encouragingly, it gives us the flexibility, because we'll have revenue coming in, it gives us the flexibility to choose how to fund our business. Do we wish to continue to fund our business through equity, or indeed do we wish to fund our business through debt, which revenue gives us that flexibility to do? And again, I think that really, really does. It's a key differentiator for us. Not only is it we've got our moats as such, which is our IP, but really biotech company with a really strong team, really unique IP assets pointing into a problem that is currently poorly treated, but has material negative impacts for individuals, their families, and communities. Not only that, but we've also got a revenue engine. So we're highly confident in the future of the company, and that's evidenced by the fact that a number of key players in the company, and you can check our SETI reports, have actually been actively buying shares in the marketplace in a fully compliant manner, because we believe in the potential for the company.
Yeah. No, I think that that first revenue component, because that is the first one that you start with, and your focus on cash flow, I think is a critical element. That is what you want to see. Lots of companies out there, coming with great vision, great research, and just name it, but not yet a clear visibility over revenue. And I think that is going to be a critical element of differentiation. It also gives you, as you said, flexibility in the future about how you want to continue to fund the organization. Coming back to those clinics, so they are an important part, definitely on the short term. Could you tell us a little bit more about the rollout? So one thing that I understood from what you said is, you focus on two markets, UK, US, even though I thought you also said EU. And could you tell us a little bit more about the timelines? So there's a number that are coming this year, but when is the rest being rolled out, and what is your strategy with the clinics, and how do you look at it going forward?
Those are very, very pertinent questions. So we've got there's three revenue streams in the company: clinics, licensing partnerships, and therapeutics commercialization. So the two that are relevant to the question you just asked there, Joss, clinics
and the license, yes.
Yeah, so clinics, we're targeting the UK and EU market with our clinics business. We're going to target the North American market, so Canada and the US, with our licensing partnerships business. So starting to focusing just on the clinics business. On the roadmap, we have 3 clinics to be opened this fiscal year. That is going to be Bristol, London, and Manchester. Bristol, about 2 million odd people in the catchment area for Greater Bristol, if you include Cardiff as well. London, about 10 million people in the metropolitan area for London. And up where we're looking at Manchester, you can bring Manchester and Liverpool in. It's about 5 million people in the catchment area. So these are high density, high population areas with a significant wealthy population. So we are highly confident that the commercials will work for those clinics. So 3 clinics this fiscal year on the roadmap. Next fiscal year is to open another 4 clinics in the UK and an additional and a clinic in Ireland. So moving outside the UK and into the EU for the first time to open a clinic in Ireland. About 5.5 million people in the Republic of Ireland, and a very, very, very wealthy territory with a significant and well-established pathway for private healthcare. So we're highly confident on the Irish market. That brings us then into 2023, and in 2023 we will look to expand into continental Europe, going on a hub and spoke model. So the Nordics hub in one Nordics country and spoking out from there. Germany, Austria, Switzerland, so the DACH region, hub in 1 or 2 of those countries, spoking out from there. Then into Iberia, Spain, Portugal, hub and spoke model. We're going to expand organically in the UK and Ireland. So identifying sites, renting them, refurbing them, building a team, training the team, open the doors, delivering services. When it comes to continental Europe, we are contemplating both organic and inorganic expansion, and we will just adjust the approach depending on the market dynamics and the commercial opportunity. Yep. And then for our licensing partnerships business, which we will look to bring on stream early next year, we'll be packaging up. What we've done is we've licensed the IP. I think I might have mentioned it before. We've licensed the IP from the world's only clinical trial for ketamine as an intervention to treat alcohol use disorder. We've licensed the IP, so the protocol and the treatment methodology from that clinical trial. So 2 great advantages for that. In our clinics, when we deliver this, we'll be the only company in the world delivering evidence-backed ketamine-assisted psychotherapy for alcohol use disorder in our clinics. massive differentiator, significant opportunity for advertising and profile. We will then be packaging that up and teaching people how to deliver that in their clinics. So for the 125,000 addiction treatment practitioners in the US who are currently treating people with alcohol use disorder with a 70% failure rate, we'll teach them how to do something more effective. We'll provide them licensed access to the IP. We'll train them. We'll provide marketing and profile and advertising and PR support. And we'll provide, a refresher training and recertification. So a very, very robust proposition that we think will be quite relevant for those addiction treatment practitioners in the US, but also for the chains of ketamine clinic operators that are opening in the US, who perhaps some of whom are looking for help ways to differentiate their services and their offering from their peers.
Yeah. And thank you for correcting me. The license indeed to the US,
okay,
and the clinics focus on the UK and Europe. On the clinic side, what would you say is the time it takes? So you say that should rapidly represent a couple of $1 million of revenue with good margins. How much time do you think it would take a clinic to reach those kinds of levels? What would be your guess? I'm sure you did some analysis around that.
Well, the message I communicate internally is as quick as bloody possible. So we've got a high level of demand for our clinics in the UK. We've got about 500 people on the pipeline for our first clinic in the UK. So we think we can ramp up fairly quickly. There is a significant demand available. It's just, the usual stuff of the people are going to be the staff is going to be one of the significant bottlenecks. Yep. But again, we're uniquely positioned because of our team, because of Dr. Ben Sessa, who is, regularly voted one of the top 15 most influential people in the psychedelics industry. He's so well known. We've got people who are coming to ask us to come and work for us because of Professor David Nutt. Again, top 10 globally most influential people in the psychedelics industry as our chief research officer. People are dying to come and work for him. So unlike other people, we have a challenge with onboarding staff and training them, but it's not going to be the same as other people. So we think we can get each one of our clinics up to full capacity in months rather than years, and definitely to break even within months as well.
Oh, that's great to hear. And what I like most in what you just said is that you started with talking about the demand, because that is a reality. Like we can all come with our views on business plans and projections, but the reality is, in any business, same for us, is what is your pipeline? What is the demand that is there? And if that's there, then you have a nice level of comfort.
Yeah, so we've got to, we know the value of our pipeline. We know the fully weighted value of our pipeline. And the great thing is, one of the non-executive directors for the company is a guy called Steve Page. Steve Page is the former CEO of the Priory Group. The Priory Group is the largest privately held addiction and mental health company in the UK. It sold for £1 billion in January of this year in a private equity to private equity sale. So we have great expertise at the board in how to scale up a clinic's operation in the UK. And there are definitely pointed questions coming my way at board meetings with regard to things like pipeline, weighted pipeline, etc.
Can imagine. You covered quite a lot of the differentiators and what makes you different and what makes you unique. So I'm not going to zoom in any further on that. But quick question I would like to ask you, and you are unique, you're different from other organizations. Is there anyone out there that today you say, well, those are, and I don't want names, but do you feel competition around you? Do you feel people emerging with thoughts and ideas that are similar to you? Or do you feel that, you have a first mover advantage in your approach, in your strategy, and it will take others quite some time to catch up?
I think it's beginning to become quite a busy space. And that's just in the emerging psychedelics biotech space.
Yep.
But we're pushing into quite an established industry already that's quite well established with the NHS, with many addiction treatment practitioners already. That's just life. I take fast followers as as the highest form of complement available. We believe that our science is very, very robust. The work that we're doing in the drug discovery, that we have the speed at which we're moving because of the team that we have available, the expertise, the knowledge that our team have around the brain mechanics, the brain circuitry of addiction, how existing first generation psychedelics work to disrupt that, how that provides space for therapists and therapy to come in and really reinforce the positive learnings available. We know an awful lot, but not only that, the science and the chemistry that we have available that we're working on now to build a next generation of entactogens. So MDMA is an entactogen. We're working to build the next generation of entactogens. And MDMA is great, ketamine are great, but time is the most valuable asset in the world. And they're great, but some of them take 6 hours to work with a 6-hour recovery window, which means you can treat one person per treatment room per day. Now, I used to bartend and I used to wait tables when I was trying to earn a few quid when I was in university. The way you got to turn the tables over. And so if we can come up with a solution that is a 2-hour treatment window and a 2-hour recovery window, but is as effective or more effective than existing psychedelics, we believe that is a radical change. Enables us to be more efficient, enables our customers to be more efficient, and enables the public healthcare system, which is our ultimate goal, to democratize psychedelics and to have this available on label and in the public healthcare system. That's a significant differentiator. So yes, it is becoming quite a crowded space, or a busy space, I should say. And there are some well-established incumbents like the NHS, like the Priory, like the Betty Ford, like the Cleveland. They're well-established players. But what we are doing is we have the best science, we believe, the best team, and the solution that we're developing is unique. And also the fact that we're able to focus across substance addiction and behavioral addiction in a more effective way with a combined therapeutics package of therapy and medicines really sets us apart from the competition, from the existing pack and also the incumbents. And then, like I said before, not to repeat myself, but we've also got the revenue engine as well, which really differentiates us a lot.
And then when you have people, trying to copy you, as I always say, you always have that. And like you, I would say, you take that as a compliment. But we all know that the reality is copying without fully understanding is typically less of a threat. And we see the same exactly in our world. And it's quite funny when you were saying that. Time is moving.
I think just like given the context that we're in on mental health and addiction, I think you can control what you can control, right?
Yeah.
And we can control the company, we can control what we're doing, we can control the speed at which we move. We cannot control what other people in the industry do. We can be cognizant of it, we can be aware of it, we can reflect, we can adjust, we can modify, we can increase the speed, but we focus on our own ship.
Yep.
And we're focusing on building the best, most relevant, and most agile ship.
No, and that's the way it should always be. Focus on doing the right things rather than playing defense. Defense is always taking your attention away from what is important. As I said, time is moving by quickly, Anthony, and you said a lot of very exciting things. But there's one last question that I definitely want to ask you before we close our discussion. I'm an investor, and I'm taking myself as an example. I'm looking now at your company. I'm looking at Awakn Life Sciences. I hear your story. I like what you say about your vision, your execution, your revenue streams. And the big question I'm asking myself now is, should I invest? Looks interesting, but is this the right moment to invest, or should I wait a little bit longer, or am I maybe too late? Because looking at the stock price, I saw it. In the last couple of months, I saw it moving, and I start to see it now moving in a nice direction. Probably in the last month or something like that. Like, what would you say to an investor that is hesitating about whether he or she should invest now?
So I think as a sector, I think there's been a bit of softness in the sector. I think that's through now. I think we're going to see some announcements coming out that's going to give some positive tailwinds to the sector. Summer is done. Labor Day is finished. People are back in. They're focused now. So I think the industry is looking good. I don't want to give investment advice because that's not my position, but you can look at our SETI reports. You can see that the chairman, the CFO, and the CEO of Awakn have been active in the market in the last weeks. So we believe in our story. And you can see from our published milestones in our MIC, we have got some transformative and what we believe to be catalyst type events coming down the pipeline in the next, between now and the end of the year. As I mentioned before, we've got 3 revenue generating assets that we're going to open up this year. We've got the publication of a phase 2B clinical trial that will indicate positively for the methodology that we've licensed for the treatment of ketamine, for the use of ketamine to treat alcohol use disorder that affects 5% of the population. We've got that report of the first stage of our drug discovery program. And these are all publicly available milestones. And then we've also got coming down the track, we're about to apply for ethics and regulatory approval for a phase 2A trial for MDMA. We've already been through scientific advisory committee meeting with the regulators. So we've got a lot of important news events and milestones coming down the pathway. Everyone's back. They're back in the office. And I think there's going to be volume on the stock market. And some key people in the company have been active on purchasing the stock. So I think that there's evidence of there being momentum potentially in the industry. You've got a leadership team that believe in the story in this particular company. And this particular company has a very, very unique proposition, a very, very strong bench, is executing at speed, and has some catalyst type news events coming down the line that are published already in our MIC, due to come down in the next couple of weeks and months. So people can make their own informed decision.
I was just going to say, Anthony, you didn't give any advice. I'm confirming that, but I think to your point, what you all said makes me making my mind up if I was an investor. But I will not say what my conclusion is, because then I would be giving investment advice. So we'll be careful. We'll be careful with that. Anthony, this half hour went by at an incredible speed. I can tell you, I've got 10 more questions for you, but we're going to stick to our plan. I think it's important to make this a session that is easy for people to digest, and I'm looking forward to see all the announcements and the initiatives that you're talking about materialize. And I would say I'm also looking forward to a follow-up discussion because it feels like more. So thank you very much for that.
Joss, listen, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I'd be delighted to come back on and have a follow-up when we've got more news under our belt. And I just want to thank you and thank the team. This has been a pleasure. You guys have been great. The NEO has been great. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye,
Cheers.
everyone.
Take care.
And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.